The Dave Hooker Show. A presentation of Off the Hook Sports. Expertise. Available on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the Off the Hook Sports app. Download now for free. Also available on offthehooksports.com.
I compute and obey.
Now to Dave Hooker.
It's a good thing it's Friday, because for some reason having some technical difficulties. I have no idea where that's coming from. Caleb, good morning on a Friday. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you doing, Dave?
I'm good. Getting a slight echo. I don't know if you can hear that. Can you hear that?
Yeah, I see. I hear. I'm not hearing an echo. I'm hearing your voice come in and out.
Oh, I was hearing an echo. Like, can we just start this thing over? Pretend that didn't happen. It's Friday. Here we go.
The Dave Hooker Show. A presentation of Off the Hook Sports. Objective insight, expertise, top guests. Available on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the Off the Hook Sports app. Download now for free. Also available on offthehooksports.com.
I compute and obey.
Now to Dave Hooker.
Ready.
Great thing about having one of the best video editors in the biz is he can cut that out. Welcome to the program. He's Caleb Calhoun. I'm Dave Hooker. We're off and rolling on a Fred Friday, a football Friday with Fred. And we look forward to Fred joining us each and every week. And we've got plenty to talk about, including Dabo going rogue against his career at Clemson. Also, the NCAA investigation is over at Tennessee, and ESPN has cited one particular player as having a breakout fall. So a lot to get to on a big Friday show, as we always have a big Friday. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you haven't. Hit the like button. We appreciate that. It brings more people in. So let's get rolling, as we've got a lot to get to. Good morning, Caleb Calhoun. How are you, sir?
Pretty good. Happy Friday, Dave.
Happy Friday to you. So plans for the weekend. People could be watching this over the weekend, and maybe you've already done them. Let's hope you stayed out of trouble and I stayed out of trouble. So plans for the weekend, getting wild, doing anything crazy?
10 o'clock NBA playoff game tomorrow night for me between the Lakers and the Grizzlies. So I will be at my local pub watching that, watching the Grizzlies take a 2-1 series lead because Dylan Brooks is in LeBron's head.
I think he is. By the way, so where do the Celtics play tonight?
Let's see. Let me pull that up real quick.
Yeah, I know. It's Atlanta.
Oh, it's at Atlanta. Okay. We already have it. They already have a 2-0 series lead.
Well, I know, but I'm a huge Celtics fan, and then the tickets will be cheaper because Atlanta fans are terrible sports fans in general.
Yeah, that's going to be a home game for the Celtics.
Yeah. So I'm like, man. So my son and I slipped down there about a year ago, exactly. And we got to see the Nets with Kevin Durant and all those guys, and that was cool. And we got to see Trae Young, and so like 3 future Hall of Famers, right? Which is super cool. But it's not my favorite team. You know, Celtics are my favorite team, and now I could get in for probably half the price that I paid for that Nets. I never thought I'd go out of my way to buy a Nets ticket.
No, that's the funniest story to me. The ending of that Nets franchise. They won a grand total of 1 playoff series with the way after getting together.
But if you've gotten to know me well enough, if I would have told you 20 years ago, I'm going to pay over $150 a ticket to see the Nets, you would have said, no, you won't.
Yeah, no.
There was Durant, there was Harden, there was Trae Young, was
Kyrie there at that time?
He didn't play, of course. He's still on his COVID debacle. But yeah, so I don't know.
We're all peons, and Kyrie's smarter than us.
That's right. The world is flat. Should I jet down there? Maybe pick up a $50, $75 ticket if I can get it.
I mean, why not? Why not? See him take a 3-0 series lead. You get to see Jason Tatum and Trae Young go at it. I mean, I think Jason Tatum might be the next superstar MVP, like multiple MVP guy in the NBA in a year or two. So,
hey, by the way, I was reading this. So if and I want to get to today's tough question brought to you by Craven Wings. But I was reading an article on Wembanyama, the incredible French player. If you haven't heard about him, he's 7'3", plays the perimeter, and he's just phenomenal. So he's the greatest generational talent since LeBron. He's going to be number one in the NBA draft coming up. But if Nico's worth $8 million, what would a guy like that be worth to play 1 year in college basketball? Because we're talking about a guy who's shooting runners from the 3-point line. I'm not joking. The guy's bizarro. Have you gotten into him yet at all?
I've read about him, and I haven't gotten fully into him, but I have heard some things. So we're talking Kevin Durant with 4 more inches, aren't we?
Yeah, that's a pretty good comparison, actually. But he wants to change the game. He just worked on literally a runner from the 3-point line, and he hit it. And then one game, the whole quarter, he wanted to shoot right-handed, even though he's left-handed. So he shot with his offhand, didn't miss a shot.
Oh my gosh!
I mean, it's I'm old enough. You're not, but I'm old enough to remember LeBron coming up in high school.
No, I remember LeBron coming up in high school.
Okay, well, I watched both of them. I don't know that he's going to have the drive as LeBron, but this guy, I'm telling you, is a better prospect than LeBron.
Or the health. Those 7'3" finesse players can be very Yao Ming could only last 10 years because of that.
Yeah, if that. I'm not even sure he made it to 10 healthy. But, we've got a lot going on. Let's go ahead and get to today's tough question. As the NCAA investigation, the hearing of infractions is over. So we do that right now. It's a presentation of Craven Wings.
Today's tough question. Take a side. Take a stand. The Dave Hooker Show, a presentation of offthehooksports.com.
Okay, God bless the many reporters who went to Cincinnati and sat there with video cameras and recording equipment and watched Jeremy Pruitt, Tennessee's brass, Phillip Fulmer go in and out of offices. I don't know that a lot of information was gained by going up there, but certainly if you want to cover that, go for it. If you want to sit in the basically a conference room, and you're not allowed to go in the hearing, but here we are. So the hearing is over. Everybody has been interviewed. Pruitt's wife was there. You didn't have a Derek Ansley that was there, and Niedermeyer wasn't there because I think their part in the case has already been resolved. But I ask you this, now that it's over, let's make an official prediction. What will happen to Tennessee in terms of the NCAA investigation that hopefully will end sometime soon? So it's brought to you by Craven Wings. They've got the great brunch on Saturdays at the Choto location, always fresh, never frozen. They're phenomenal. So the probe is over. I give you 4 selections on today's tough question brought to you by Craven Wings. And it is probation, recruiting travel limits, or scholarship reductions, or a postseason ban. So far on our Twitter page, and it's a great way to react, by the way. If you want to interact with the show, we love that. You can go to OTH Sports Media or The Dave Hooker or Caleb Calhoun. And right now, it's 36% apiece, probation and recruiting travel limitations. Scholarship reductions is about 18%. Postseason ban, which I think is unlikely, is at 9%. So what say you, and the message board as well, if I give you those 4 options, Caleb Calhoun?
Okay, so we're saying no punishment, scholarship reductions, and recruiting travel limitations, and postseason ban.
Well, are you counting probation and no punishment as the same thing? That's the same
I'm not.
thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, basically the same thing.
But they're not going to avoid at least probation.
Yeah. I'm going scholarship reduction and recruiting travel limit for a year.
Okay. Well, then Travis says recruiting limitations. I think that's a given. I think they're going to take 2 or 3 weeks away. And that's one of those numbers that looks really good because you can say we're going to take these 4 coaches off of the recruiting trail for this period. And when you add it up, and let's say it's 7 days per coach, you look 28 days. and you're able to save some face if you're the NCAA.
Yeah.
I think there will be some scholarship reductions because the NCAA wants to save face. I said this in a column that I wrote on offthehooksports.com. The scary thing to me from Tennessee's perspective is twofold. One, Jeremy Pruitt is not an NFL coach. He's not going to keep the job there. He needs to get back in college. If he were to get a Donnie Tyndall 10-year show cause, his career is basically over. So he's disgruntled. He's mad. He's got an axe to grind. And then the other thing that scares me from Tennessee's perspective is that the NCAA just added like 40 employees in their enforcement office. So they don't want to look like they have no teeth, even though they don't. But Caleb, still, it's hard for me to imagine a postseason ban. And I think the fact that Greg Sankey was there, the SEC commissioner, speaks to the fact that he wants things to work out for Tennessee. And it's better for the SEC. It's better for college football. That all being said, the NCAA does a lot of things that aren't best for college football.
Yeah, it could be a really black eye with postseason ban, particularly if Tennessee, which I talked about earlier in the week, now has a really realistic shot at the East. What if they win it and then a postseason ban? I think back 1993 Auburn went undefeated Terry Bowden's first year. That was a bad look that they couldn't go play for the SEC title. 2002 Alabama with Dennis Franchione. They went, I think, 10-3 in the regular season. They won the West. Arkansas got to go because Alabama was on probation. I mean, those are bad looks. Ohio State in 2012 went undefeated. Didn't get to play for the national title. Like, these aren't good looks when this happens. It's one thing to just have a bowl ban and then that season be a loss, but there are championship seasons that have been derailed because of bowl bans. And
it's kind of like the Alabama thing, a way different situation, but the Alabama basketball thing. Every time they came up, you mentioned the gun charges and the terrible, terrible incident that happened there. So, no, it would be bad because you would miss a chance at a championship. But as you pointed out, it's also horrible PR.
Yeah, it's horrible PR for the league. I mean, it's a black eye in a huge way if a champion of one of your divisions. I mean, at the end of the day, no matter what, the champion then is by default. And by the way, one of the biggest beneficiaries of this was Tennessee. 1990. The only reason they get to claim that SEC title is because Florida was on probation. And you ask Steve Spurrier to this day, he takes massive umbrage with the fact that 1990 Florida team's first team can't claim the SEC title. And that's something that it doesn't look good when that happens.
A couple of other facts that I uncovered. One, Tennessee drugged their feet on this thing last fall because suddenly once they beat Alabama, you're thinking there is a chance to get in the college football playoff. So they drugged their feet to not get a postseason ban last year. So for those that are upset that it's taking the NCAA so long, there's a reason. Tennessee drugged their feet because they didn't want a possible postseason ban last year. The other thing that you need to keep in mind are, one, Phillip Fulmer. What was he willing to admit that he did wrong? And two, what is good enough for Jeremy Pruitt? I don't know if, obviously a 10-year show cause, that would put him in his late 50s before he could come back to college football. He's not going to accept that. Would he accept 2? Would he accept 3? What would he accept? So those are a couple of things to watch. And as far as a postseason ban, the NCAA hasn't done that recently. And I look at, and this flies in the face of all tradition, Caleb, that I've been raised on. Okay, so since I've covered Tennessee, it's always been self-reporting, right? But what did LSU and North Carolina do when they were under NCAA investigation? They just basically gave the NCAA the middle finger. And they said, we're going to roll right on with this. Forget self-reporting. You have no teeth. Is Tennessee's approach in terms of self-reporting dated at all, Caleb? It might be.
That's a good question. I mean, because that's what, as you pointed out, that's what Tennessee has been doing for decades. They've been doing it this way. Never thought about that, but
40 years, literally 40 years.
Yeah.
86 was the first time that they did that.
It's that's a really good question. Here's the thing with the NCAA, and this is the truth of the matter. It's only as powerful as teams allow it to be. It's only as powerful as teams allow it to be. And, because NCAA does a bowl ban. Okay, what happens then if the Sugar Bowl says, we're not doing this? If Tennessee wins, or the College Football Playoff Committee is like, we're not doing this. Who cares if you put in a postseason ban? We're still going to let them play. What are you going to do, NCAA? And, that's...
Caleb, I think you're scared. I mean, I think the only reason to be really fearful about this is if the NCAA wants to make some sort of an example out of Tennessee now that they have more teeth, which I don't think is going to happen. I'm not trying to scare everybody here, but it is a realistic conversation because they've looked like fools for so long. So they did that with SMU with the death penalty. Now, Tennessee's not going to get the death penalty, but could they get something more harsh than maybe they deserve? I think that's a real possibility, but I still don't think that the NCAA nor the SEC wants to see Tennessee suffer anytime soon.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think with a program like Tennessee on the rise, everybody benefits when Tennessee is rolling, and we saw that last year. And I don't think the NCAA wants to lose that. It's funny, during the 90s, we always talked about it was kind of a big thing on how national media hates Tennessee. National media hates Tennessee. If you've been covering Tennessee the last 10 years, national media has been desperate for Tennessee to return. I mean, beyond desperate, because it's funny watching Gary Danielson on CBS. He like half roots for Tennessee to get back because in his mind, it's like it was better for our network if Tennessee was getting these 3:30 games. And
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. All right. So the message board, Travis says recruiting limitations. Joe says recruiting restrictions and hefty fines, probably small scholarship reductions. Joe also says if they do a postseason ban, no one will let the NCAA within 1,000 miles of their camps. That could be the case. It also could be the case where they're a little scared of the NCAA. Smoky Mountain Red says, I feel like it will be nothing that will really hurt the program. I agree with that part. Winning and this offense will bring recruits to us if they limit the on-road recruiting. To that point, with the transfer portal, if you do have scholarship reductions, you can usually fill that in pretty quickly. Smoky Mountain Red talking about what we visited about, should Phillip Fulmer fall on the sword, and I wrote about it. Smoky Mountain Red saying the major thing Fulmer did wrong, he took the AD job and acted like he was qualified to be an AD. He sold that to me, sold that to everybody, because he was part of basically like a hedge fund, I believe. And he said that I understand the business side of it and I understand the athletic side. It was like trying to get a job and you fill out your resume and you've got all the qualifications. So yes, he tried to sell himself. I mean, there's no questioning that he wanted the AD job very early in the process.
Oh yeah, and the thing we saw with Fulmer was the thing we all expected with Fulmer as the athletic director, which is Phillip Fulmer was going to run the athletic director on the athletic director position from, to be fair, the business side and the athletic side. What he wasn't going to do was going to run it from the creative side. Phillip Fulmer is just not that creative, So, and Tennessee needed a creative athletic director more than anything else.
Okay, here's what D points out. This is at the very least, I think, that Phillip Fulmer should do. If Fulmer agreed he made a bad hire and returned his buyout, I think you guys were right and everything goes away. Yep. And then they find a way to take care of him. D mentioned Spire. I don't care if it's a statue or whatever it is. It's one of those deals where you take one for the team and you say, I may have heard of some stuff. And it's not going to affect his legacy. His legacy is as a coach and a longtime ball. He made a
kick him out of the College Football Hall of Fame?
No, he made a mistake in desperation because he was trying to build his program back. That is what you could sell the NCAA. I don't think Phillip Fulmer is going to do that, but that's what you could sell the NCAA. And it's over. It's over by the end of next week if he were to do that. But he's not going to do that.
No, he's not going to do that. Phillip Fulmer his legacy with Tennessee is more important than Tennessee. And that's what he cares about the most.
I think there's a lot of truth to that. All right. So go ahead and give me your thoughts on the message board. What Tennessee will receive from the NCAA now that is over. And we certainly appreciate all of the people that are already on board, continually blown away by the number of views and clicks we get on the YouTube channel. We hope you're enjoying offthehooksports.com because it certainly seems like you are, because the clicks would reflect that. And certainly Phillip Fulmer in the NCAA has been a big topic, but so is this upcoming season. And I'm going to come across as the Joe hater. All right, here it comes. Aaron Murray, former Georgia quarterback, now an analyst with, I know, the Zone in Atlanta. I don't know if he does anything bigger than that because he doesn't talk a lot. But he says that Joe Milton is the most talented quarterback in America. I don't know that he's looked at every single quarterback. It's a stupid statement. There could be a second-string quarterback like Joe Milton was last year that we don't know about. It's a stupid statement. But he might be the most talented starting quarterback, and I think he probably is. But here's my question for you, Caleb. Is in some ways his talent setting Joe Milton up to fail? Because people are going to look back at it and say, he's super talented. Why didn't you get it done? I think that's got to be a factor at some point, and could be a factor if things don't go right, especially in Gainesville. The Tennessee fans could turn on him a little bit, which you don't want.
Yeah, there's going to be revisionist history, which is Anthony Richardson, because we keep talking to Anthony Richardson, Joe Milton. So let's just talk about how this is going to play out real quick, because Anthony Richardson is the highly touted draft prospect right now because of his raw talent, similar to what we talked about Joe Milton could be this year.
And I can tell you, if I may interrupt for a second, I can tell you from somebody within the program, Joe Milton saw in January the love that Anthony Richardson was getting. And he's like, I can outrun that guy. And I'm as big, as strong, and fast, and have the same arm. And that's a motivating factor. Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, I'm glad you said that, because what's going to happen this year is, so Anthony Richardson's going to be a top 5 pick. There's going to be all this hype behind Joe Milton. Joe Milton is going to put up better numbers than Anthony Richardson did last year. But the numbers aren't going to be what everybody expected because of what's in their mind about Anthony Richardson. And they're going to forget that Anthony Richardson was highly mediocre last year for most of the season. And there's going to be this, why isn't Joe Milton doing what Anthony Richardson did last year? He's going to be doing more than what Anthony Richardson did last year. But it's not going to be enough.
But you're saying the question is, why didn't he do as much as Hendon Hooker did in 2022?
Exactly.
Now, that's a scary good point that I hadn't thought of. Because Hooker threw for like a gajillion yards, 50 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. It was a once-in-a-generation type of year. Joe Milton's not going to do that.
No, he's not. He's not. He may not throw the interceptions, but he's not going to get the touchdowns and the yards. That's just not happening. And the efficiency, the yards per attempt, the completion percentage, that's not going to be there. I can tell you right now that's not going to be there.
Well, and they don't need it. I think they'll be a better running football team because they will have more explosiveness out of the backfield. Again, I'm going to tell you, Dylan Sampson is the star this year. Barring injury, I'm going to go ahead and tell you you heard it here first. Dylan Sampson is your star. So I think they'll have more explosiveness out of the backfield. So you lose Darnell Wright, but they can lean on the run a little bit more. And I think the defense will be better. So I don't think he's going to be asked to throw nearly as many passes as Hendon Hooker was last year.
No, I don't either. And there were issues last year with, you're right, Tennessee didn't have an explosive running back. They had 2 running backs who could do the job, but they didn't have one that could be explosive. You're right. This year, that helps a lot more. And so the offense will change a little bit. He will still do enough to satisfy Tennessee fans. But yeah, with all the hype behind it, there's going to be, like you said, it's going to be, why is he not Hendon Hooker? And it's not going to be the same as, okay, because people keep bringing this up. 1998, no one complained that T. Martin wasn't Peyton Manning. Nobody really complained about that because they knew what they had elsewhere. Nobody expected T. Martin. As a matter of fact, I remember, this was like when I first started watching Tennessee and I learned about the option. I remember that Tennessee tried to run some option with T. They changed up their offense dramatically with T. Martin in 98. Oh, yeah. They tried to run the option a few times. And so no one expected him to be Peyton Manning, but people are going to expect Joe Milton to be Hendon Hooker, and that's just completely unfair to him.
Totally agree. And I don't think that now the flip side that Travis points out, and this is a really good point. Good morning to you, Bob, and please hit that thumbs up button so we can bring more people into the program. But Travis brought up a good point. Schedule is easier. So the numbers will be more comparable probably because of schedule.
The schedule is easy, I challenge that it's easier. I think Tennessee, even though the teams they played last year, half the schedule is who you play, the other half is when you play them. So yes, LSU won the West last year. The day Tennessee played LSU, the all of the factors going into that made LSU the caliber of Virginia, not LSU. I mean, that's it matters when you play a team as much as how good they are.
Well, and you also had a lot of things broke Tennessee's way. You had Bryce Young, who couldn't participate in practice for the Alabama game. He was very limited, but he still played incredibly well. Don't get me wrong.
Pittsburgh's quarterback got hurt.
Yep. There was a lot of Will Levis was beat all the heck. There's a lot of factors that made the schedule easier last year that we didn't know about. But on the surface, this is an easier schedule as of what we know now, as opposed to 1 year ago, right?
I can agree with that. Particularly when, would you rather go to LSU or play Texas A&M when Texas A&M is about to fire their coach at home?
I knew the moment that was a noon Eastern kick, which is 11 Central, that Tennessee was going to win that game. I would have bet anything on it. Travis brings up a great point. Hop likes to score, guys, and he's going to. Yeah, that's true. Portions of the program brought to you by Zulbeer.com, xulbeer.com, worldwide award-winning craft beer. It is unbelievable, and they've got parking downtown. And I'll tell you what, that doesn't happen a lot. And they've got a great panoramic view of Knoxville, and you're going to love Zulbeer, xulbeer.com. Fred White, how are you, sir?
Caught
him mid-sip. Look at that. Caught him mid-sip. All right, so
how's it going, guys?
Fred, bad clock management on my part. Can you say we'll be back in 2 minutes, and we will indeed be back in 2 minutes?
This is Off the Hook, and we'll be back in 2 minutes.
Love it.
Family has been creating jewelry since 1986, each piece unique with a story all its own. I'm Rick Terry with Rick Terry Jewelry Designs. I'm a jeweler, and I want to be your jeweler. We're grateful that you chose us to be Knoxville's best jeweler. My family and staff look forward to serving you. So please come see us. Kingston Pike and Campbell Station Road in the heart of Farragut, and downtown on Gay Street, right next to the Tennessee Theater.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard heating and air conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
Dare to compare.
Craven Wings has the cleanest, healthiest wings in town. We pride ourselves on our slogan, always fresh, never frozen. Come try us and discover the difference yourself. New location now open at the Markets at Choto.
With all that sun, sand, and salt water, the beach is a very relaxing place. Unless you wear contacts. Ow! Open your eyes to the best the beach has to offer with LASIK vision correction from Campbell Cunningham Laser Center.
Do you want to own the more that owns every job? Then get to Vassy Lawn and Garden in Cleveland and get you a Toro. I'm David Vassy, here to talk to you about Toro. With a Toro Zero Turn, you'll get more out of every minute and you'll reach the finish line faster. At Vassy's, we like to say, no matter if you're mowing 3 acres a week or 11 lawns a day, homeowners and business owners alike find confidence in equipment they can trust from top to bottom.
Vassy Lawn and Garden, Highway 60 North in Cleveland.
Man alive, it's worth the drive.
You're listening to The Dave Hooker Show, a presentation of OffTheHookSports.com.
The internet is full of pictures of each and every one of you.
Available on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the Off the Hook Sports app. Download now for free.
Is there nothing you people can't do?
Also available on OffTheHookSports.com.
It's a Football Friday with Fred. He joins us now. Fred White can handle all of your insurance needs there in the state of Georgia. Allstate, you're in good hands with Fred White. Fred, how do people get a hold of you, sir?
Dave, they can actually look us up online at fredwhiteallstate.com. They can also give us a phone call right here in the office at 770-381-0367. Give us an opportunity to show you that you're in good hands.
Yep, and you absolutely will be. Let's start it off with a question on our message board already. Travis said, Fred, you think LSU took a ranked Tennessee at home nationally televised game lightly, or did Tennessee just dog walk them because they were inferior? I think he's referring to a comment that I made that when that was a noon game and LSU practices in the afternoon, Tennessee practices in the morning. When I heard that was a noon game, I was like, Tennessee's winning this game. No question.
Oh, you said we were winning?
I thought
Because we're
Tennessee.
noon game?
Yeah, when it was announced that the LSU Tennessee game was noon, which was 11 Central, I thought that was the safest bet that week in America that Tennessee would win that game.
I thought it was a trap game.
Did you?
You go back and you look at the history of Tennessee playing games that are 11 o'clock in the morning Eastern time, and I'll tell you how many times we've won. Not many. We usually lose those games. Those are the games that always catch us in trappers. 1999, we played against Arkansas in Arkansas. Noon game, Central Time, 11 o'clock in the morning our time, we got beat. And that is the game. I hated playing early games. Even if you practice in the morning, it's just something about playing a football game at 11 in the morning. That's different.
No, I agree, but you always practice in the afternoons.
True.
Tennessee practices in the morning. I mean, those guys, we talked to Cooper and Jacob. Those guys are up and at them at like 6, 7 a.m. and in bed by 9 or 10.
I mean, we were up at 6 or 7 in the morning too, though. I mean, working out. We weren't practicing, but we worked out early morning.
Well, that's a fair point. LSU, though, their fans were super hungover. I think we can all agree on that.
They were hungover more because we whooped their butt. I'm going to give credit to what credit is due, and I'm giving credit to Johnson and offense. I don't think they took us lightly. They just didn't realize what type of offense we were running. And LSU plays 12 o'clock games every year, all the time. They play Arkansas at 12 noon. They play a few games at 12 noon. They didn't realize what hit them so fast. And I applaud for throwing the kitchen sink at them early. Defensively, we got a turnover on kickoff on special teams. That started it off. It got rolling right away. And you know yourself, if you give us enough chances to score, we're going to score.
Very true. Go ahead and click that thumbs up button, the like button, so we can bring more people in. We haven't talked to you since the orange and white game. It's pretty short, but what were your impressions? Anybody stand out? What did you think of Tennessee's final, air quotes, practice of spring camp?
I don't take as much from the spring game as I do going to watch a regular practice. Because spring game, some of the guys may not play. They may not play a lot. You got guys mixed in and mingled in that may not never even be on the football field together, period. But what you get a chance to see in going to watch a regular practice and they scrimmage is ones against ones, twos against twos, those type of things. And ones against twos, it's a different beast going to watch practice than it is just going to watch the spring game. But I did have my eye on two guys in particular. Two freshmen. I can't think of the kid's name right now. My mind just went blank. From Virginia, the freshman from Virginia, 6'2" kid. I wanted to see what he was going to do. I watched him in practice, and he was amazing. Selden, I want to say his name is.
Oh, Cam Selden, yeah. Tell me.
And then I also watched the kid from Knoxville, man, Bishop.
Yeah.
I just wanted to see what those two guys can do. No offense to the running backs we already have. I think we have some really good guys. I like Small. I also like Wright. I think Wright is a really good football player, got speed. But there's something about a 6'2" running back in your backfield when everyone else is 5'11",
That's true.
Also run. It makes a difference with the offense that we have. I think he can keep the chains going, and if we can have that one guy who can make those big plays, it changes the entire football game for us on offense.
If you have a question for Fred, post it on the message board or on our Twitter account, and we'll get it right to him. Think about Deshaun Bishop. He's from Carnes, which is right next to Powell. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you that Bishop, as of November, was going against a bunch of dudes who ran like a 5'8" 40 that were 148 pounds. That transition in 3-4 months to go to spring camp in the SEC, just to even keep your head above water, is saying something.
Dave, let me say this to you. There's talent in Knoxville. There's a lot of it. Some of it has to go somewhere else every now and then. It gets overlooked. And one of those kids that I remember going to watch was Alcoa, Cobb.
Oh yeah, Randall Cobb.
I went to Knoxville just to go to a high school football game. I went to a Carnes high school football game just to watch Bishop this past year. And I remember thinking to myself, oh, yeah, he's an SEC football player. He's the best football player on the field. And not just myself, a couple of my other teammates went to go see him too against different talent. And you could tell. Some guys just have it.
Wow.
He's one of them.
Pretty strong. Caleb is going to jump in here. I'm going to go ahead and go on record that I think, and we want to get your thoughts from some other practices you went to. I'm going to go on record. Dylan Sampson will be the breakout star of this upcoming season.
Dylan
Sampson.
Mm-hmm.
Running back, brings a little bit more speed, but you really like Cam Selden, so maybe I'm off base there.
No, but I came to watch those two. I know what Dylan Sampson brings. I watched him last year, even though he was injured a little bit during the year, trying to get back to. He's the one kid that we look at and see. I see a mix of, well, I hate comparing guys, but he puts me in the mold of a Alvin Kamara. He has the speed, he has the moves, he can catch the ball out of the backfield, all those type of things. I see him right small. But then I'm watching these two freshman running backs. It's a crowded room right now.
Oh, it is. And I thought that Selden, maybe they were just putting him there to take up snaps in spring, like Kirsten Biggers and stuff. No, that wasn't the case.
That's not the case.
Before we get to Caleb, Mr.
Hold on. I gotta put some respect on Kirsten Biggers' name. And that's my roommate he was my roommate for a year. Well, I'm not doing him like that. No.
But he wasn't an SEC back.
Hey man, I got much love and respect for Kirsten Biggers. He was my roommate for a while.
All right.
I can't do him like that.
So can I throw Michael Brewster under the bus?
yeah. I don't know what that is.
He was the next Kirsten Biggers a few years after you were gone. He was the spring star, and then he was gone. Let's get to Caleb. First of all, though, Mr. Jones said, is Fred related to Reggie White or Danny White, Tennessee's athletic director?
Neither.
Especially not Danny.
I actually like Danny. Danny's doing a good job, man. I'm proud of what he's doing. I think Danny's doing a good job with what he's doing with the stadium. I think Danny he understands the one thing that you need. And a lot of people, I don't think they get it at the moment. You're going to need a lot of money. A lot. Because the NIL situation, it's just scratching the surface. It's not even, this is going to be college football free agency. If you understand what I'm saying. This is what this is going to be in the next 5 to 10 years. That's what this is going to be. So in order to be able to get there, you need to generate as much money as possible. And the guys who have the most money, in my opinion, are going to be the guys who are going to win the games and win championships at every level.
Agreed.
Fred, before I jump into talking a little spring, I just first have to ask you, because we were talking about it earlier. You're in Atlanta. Dave's thinking about going to the Hawks Celtics game 3 tonight. My question is,
can you hook me up on that, by the way, Fred?
No, not that.
I'm sitting here trying to figure out. I didn't get the phone call.
No, my question to you, to troll Atlanta sports fans, will there be more Hawks fans or Celtics fans there tonight?
Hey. Dave.
I'm a Celtics.
I'm going to have to have a real sit down with Caleb when I see him. He comes in just throwing haymakers every time. I mean, goodness, if I didn't know how to duck or bob or weave, I might not be on the screen.
Because he hadn't met you in person.
I'm a Grizzly fan. We've taken our own licks this year because John Moran has been acting so stupid all year. But
I'm a Hawks fan all the way. You know it, and that's, man. We don't have it this year. We have the talent, absolutely. We have talent, but I think that we let a really good coach. We've let 2 really good coaches leave. Yeah. Budenhauser done won 2 championships now. You let that guy get out of the city. Well, he did. He was drinking and driving on the streets of Atlanta. It was probably time to go.
No one here has ever done that.
But Terry McMillan, I thought he was going to be a good fit, and it just didn't work out. Sometimes your star player and your coach don't get along, and all of a sudden it's gone. Um, I think he did a really good job when he first came. They made a few changes, and he thought it would be good for the team, but I think we kept the wrong guy when it comes to athletes. On the Werder should never left Atlanta.
Fair enough. I'm gonna start breaking down Jason Tatum's game here in a second. No, I'm not.
Oh.
All right, Caleb, bring us back to the Vols.
So speaking with spring ball, a lot of the talk was, and I know you've been to a few practices, a lot of our talk was about who steps in at cornerback, because I think Tennessee desperately needs somebody to fill the void. Did you see anything from Jordan Matthews or Ricky Travis or any of the newcomers in the defensive backfield during the spring?
I watched my DBs, and I watched them more during the spring practices, and I saw some good things. We got some good receivers out there too. I mean, you got some guys that can go get it. These young guys can run. They're fast. They got good hands. I got to see more. I didn't get a chance to evaluate the guys who transferred in as much because I only got a chance to watch 2 practices. And I kind of spread it out between because I wanted to see those freshman running backs and I wanted to see those freshmen that came in early, those type of things. But when I come back in the summer, I get a chance to watch some 7-on-7 DB drills, those type of things, and it gives you an idea of what you have. Watching just regular drills against no one shows you a lot about a DB. Work ethic, technique. Does he stay high? Can he come out of his breaks? You can tell from that point whether or not they're going to be good football players or not. But I'm waiting to see what happens this summer and just kind of I'm looking forward to the summer workouts and going to be able to see them do that.
Yeah,
I have a better assessment then.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of those that may not know, you talk about the 7-on-7s. I think the summer can be as big for linebackers, defensive backs, wide receivers, quarterbacks as spring can. So there's a lot of growing left to do. We had a question about receiver Nathan Leacock, and also you mentioned the receivers are really good. So you kind of address him, and then Dante Thornton would be one, and then Squirrel White would be the other, who are probably going to be competing for that slot position. Just give me your thoughts on them and the receivers as you saw them.
Well, I think we got fast. I mean, we lose some speed and we still have some speed, and we gained a few. And one guy has a few more inches on the others. The kid Dante from Oregon, I think he's going to be a good add. For one, he can run good routes. He's been in the game before. And he's already been on a big stage. He understands what it's like to be a college football player. Now, he's never had opportunity to play against SEC talent except for playing against Georgia, but that's what it's like every week. And to see him excited about the fans coming out for spring game lets you know that he hasn't seen what it's like yet. And when he's lighting up that scoreboard, it's going to be a different story. I think this kid's going to come in and do some big things for us because he can stretch the defense, whether he's on the outside or whether he's in the slot. If he's in the slot, he's an automatic mismatch because of size and speed. I think he's going to be good for us there. Keaton, I like the fact that he's a kid that can catch the ball. He runs the right routes, runs really good routes, catches the ball with his hands. He puts me in the mind of the kid that plays for, maybe not as fast as him, but the kid that plays for the Eagles right now from Alabama, Smith. He always comes back to the ball. That's something that a lot of receivers don't understand. But if you're a guy who's just has to rely more on your route running, you have to do every little thing right. And I see him do those things for us coming back to the ball. That's going to be something that helps for us possessions and those type of things. We haven't even talked about Brew McCoy.
No.
And he's not even healthy right now. That's another receiver that's going to give us something else. I think this is his breakout year, if you ask me. Leacock, I think he's going to work his way in, but I don't with the portal and the things that are going on and the receivers you already have on your team, I don't put a lot of stock in freshmen.
Well,
I don't. Not at the receiver position, not at the quarterback position. Running back is usually the only position where a freshman comes in and just lights it up. I haven't seen anything other than that. I haven't seen a receiver go for 1,000 yards as a freshman. I just haven't. The game is different. You got to understand the game different. You got to understand how to read routes, understand how to read defenses, and how to come out of your breaks and where you fit in the offense. You got a kid like Squirrel White also that's sitting there who's already done some things for you, and I think this is a breakout year for him as well. Him in that slot changes things as well. Different speed. You can do a lot of different things with him, sweeps, reverses. It makes our offense that much more potent.
Good stuff. Fred's appearance brought to you in part by AndyMasonRealEstate.com. AndyMasonRealEstate.com. When you're looking for a realtor, Andy's your guy. Over 40 years of experience in his office. AndyMasonRealEstate.com. I've known Andy for a long, long time, 30 years or so. So you can trust Andy. And if you go with another realtor, it could cost you thousands or tens of thousands of dollars. He'll find you the right home. And here are his 2 business tenets. It's pretty simple. Best prices, best service. That's pretty easy, kid.
Fred, I wanted to, before we'll get back to Tennessee, but there's something that made me think of you this week, and it's what you told me a couple of weeks ago when you had kind of educated me a lot about the things Ryan Leaf went through in San Diego. And I don't know if you saw Bill Polian just straight lied on Ryan Leaf this week, where he said that Ryan Leaf, the reason they took Peyton was because Ryan Leaf told him that he was going to go party in Vegas after being drafted at the meeting. Well, the whole story up till now was he was never at the meeting to begin with. So, and Ryan Leaf called him out on that. What were your thoughts? I don't know if you saw that Bill Polian lied on him like that.
I think a lot of people have their own narratives on Ryan without knowing all the facts. And sometimes people just make up stories. And in this case, I'm glad he called him out. Good for Ryan, because you don't get hooked on pain pills in the NFL without someone giving them to you.
True.
Did he go find him and buy him himself? I don't think so. He got him from the staff.
Yeah, and the thing about the Polian thing that is bizarre to me, I mean, he had a great career, but about 3 or 4 years ago, he said there was no question that they were taking Peyton Manning over Ryan Leaf, which isn't true because they had a Ryan Leaf jersey printed up. There was still question the week leading up to the draft. And the other thing that he said that I'm curious with your eye, he said that at the time they thought Peyton's arm was every bit as strong as Ryan Leaf.
No.
That's exactly what I thought. He said that about 3 years ago.
I love Peyton to death, and Peyton's arm is not as strong as Ryan Leaf's. No. Not on Peyton's best day was his arm stronger than Ryan Leaf's. Not even close.
I think
Not
Peyton
even
would
close.
admit that.
Peyton knew where to put the ball, knew when to throw it. He knew how to throw the ball early and those type of things. Ryan Leaf could throw a ball through a wall. Seriously, he had a cannon.
Yeah, no,
I watched it in practice. I watched it go over my head a few times too. So trust me, I've seen them both. I've watched Peyton's go over my head, and I've watched Ryan's go over my head. And I'm telling you right now, Ryan Leaf had a strong arm.
No, Polian has had such a great career. I don't know why he goes revisionist history, and I think it kind of hurts his credibility a little bit. Anything else that stood out to you as far as you were at spring camp a lot? Not necessarily the spring game, as you mentioned, you don't see nearly as much, but anything else that stood out? Any other players?
I can't wait to see this kid play this year. I just need him to get through the summer and get some football season. Kid's number is 27, and you know who I'm talking about.
Well, you
James, what is his last name?
Oh, Pierce?
Man, let me tell you something.
Yeah, so I hear the same thing. He's got to get through the summer. He's got to get through the summer.
Just get through the summer, kid. get through the summer, kid. Get through the summer and get to football season where you're just taking care of business. Listen, man, that kid can go. He is. You know how you talk about kids and talent, and you'll tell a kid that, man, you'll walk your ticket. You have all the tools to get it done on the football field. You have the golden ticket. Just get him to football season. Somebody bubble wrap that kid and walk around. Hey, if you see him on campus, guys, make sure you just walk with him, corral him. Make sure if you see him anywhere in the city, make sure he's going in the right direction. Okay.
Yeah,
We need this kid on the football field. This guy can play.
I think he's already been assigned a guardian, a mentor, from what I'm
Please.
told. And Tennessee hasn't had. He needs to get through the summer. I just want to put it like that. And
he's one of those kids that don't come around every. That type of talent, that type of ability, if channeled in the right way, he's one of those kids that you're gonna see on Sunday, and he's gonna play for a long time. But he hasn't played much at Tennessee yet, and that's a lot to say about someone. But what I've seen so far, yeah, he has it. That kid has it.
I will share this story of a conversation I had with Lane Kiffin. And I said, Ed Orgeron seems like a guy that goes 110% all the time. Do you ever worry about him getting burned out? And Lane's response was, no, he's better when he's busy.
Yeah.
He needs to keep his hands busy.
He does not need to get bored.
We learned now the minute Ed Orgeron has something to do, he might get in some trouble.
Yeah. You need to make sure he has a lot on his plate. A lot.
He might show up to Marlon Wallace's grandmother's house with a couple of pops in him. Who knows? But anyway, might be asked to leave, and then that recruitment's over.
Yeah.
Maybe. I'm just throwing it out there as maybe.
He might come back with the golden goose. He might come back with an egg on his face.
He might scare the goose, the gander, and everybody in the goose's family away. That's what happened. Portions of the program brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning, cityheatandair.com. And I'll tell you what, they've got over 50 years of experience in Knoxville. Integrity matters. So if you need work on your unit, they're not just going to suggest a brand new whole unit necessarily. You may need that, but you may just need a part or two. Fred, as a prospect, go back in time. You were a prospect, what, about 10 years ago? So
yeah, that's right. That's right.
Is this like way over a prospect's head? Are they thinking about things like NCAA investigations? Do they look at, if you were to hear a bowl ban or a postseason ban, I should say, of a year, or you were to hear scholarship reductions or anything like that, would that affect your decision?
You talking about now or back then?
Well, a little bit of both, if you can kind of mush them together.
Well, back then, absolutely, because you want the whole point of going to college and playing college sports, man, in Division I, you want to be on TV with opportunity to play, in a bowl game. Being on TV means your family get to see you, because some guys are not going. I didn't go to Georgia. I went to Tennessee. That's a 4-hour drive. Sometimes they may not be able to make that drive. They get a chance to watch me on TV. But if I'm in college and I can't even be on TV, why am I going there?
Well,
a prime example, Dave. I committed to Miami in 1994. October the 28th, on my sister's birthday, I committed to Miami. December 25th or 23rd or something like that, we found out they were going to be on probation, no TV, no bowl game for 2 years. You realize Miami's recruiting class went from number 1 to like 17 in a matter of minutes. Myself, Javon Curse, Dante Culpepper, Peter Ward, Ryan Bouchamp, we all went to different schools after that.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it would be best.
Fred White and John Curse playing on the same defense.
Man, I was going to Miami. I sure was. But so to answer the other part of that question is this: if a school is going on probation now, you can actually get paid to play college sports now. That means they are really in trouble. Absolutely, I wouldn't go through there.
They're not in a little bit of trouble. The firm talking to with my kids, they're in like rounding time.
Absolutely. That's not, if you get in trouble for something now, you did something major, because you can actually pay them now.
Yeah. Fred, again, how do we get in? We want people to click that thumbs up button, the like button, so we bring more people in, but subscribe, because Fred joins us each and every Friday. So Fred, again, man, All-State, you're in good hands with Fred White.
Absolutely. And my staff is a really good staff as well. It's kind of short right now, but we're adding to it. Melissa is a really good person. When you call and she's answering the phone, I guarantee you she's gonna be very pleasant. And you might want to talk to her more. You want to talk to me. I'm just saying. But no, we make sure we take care of our business with our clients. We try to make sure they're in good hands at all times. Just give us a call whenever you decide you want to have a conversation about insurance or want to buy some insurance. We love that too.
No doubt.
But just give us a call, 770-381-0367, or you can look us up online. You can actually get a quote from our online page. You can ask questions from there. You can actually text me. It comes directly to my cell phone from our online page as well. So just give us a call. If you got questions you need answered, if you're looking just to get a good quote, just give us a holler.
Fred, throwing high heat as always. You're in good hands with Fred White and Allstate. All you got to do is Google him, Fred White, Allstate, and you can run him down, and he'll take care of your insurance needs in Georgia. We've teased a little bit the Celebrate 98 series, but that's coming, and it's exciting, and we're going to talk to all the key Vols. And can you believe it's been 25 years, Fred?
It feels like yesterday.
It does.
It still feels like it was yesterday. Some of the same stories, some of the same memories. Man, 25 years is a long time. I'm happy to be still here 25 years later, to still be able to enjoy the same things we enjoyed back then.
Yeah, there were a couple of times I'm not sure Fred and I were going to make it this far, but we did.
Ooh, Dave. Did not know.
That trip to scout Eric Berry was something else. I think Austin Price is lucky he came back at all. All right, great job, Fred. We appreciate it. Fred White, Allstate, and we'll visit with him each and every Friday. Buddy, have a great, blessed weekend.
Hey, man, you guys too. Go Vols.
Thanks, Fred. I appreciate that. They could use Go Vols on the baseball diamond as well. So coming up, one of Tennessee's chief recruiters has lost his great appeal. We're going to get to that right after this. Stay tuned. This is a production of Off the Hook Sports, and also Phillip Fulmer falling on the sword. I want to dive into that a little bit more. Portions of the program brought to you by Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn. Look at me. I can see. No contacts, no glasses. It's awesome. Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn. Local vision done correctly there in the Knoxville area. They can do the annual visits. They can also do cataract surgery. They can do LASIK surgery like me. They've got it all. 2 minutes. And then that head coach, it's losing his appeal, and it's one of Tennessee's chief recruiters. So it's good news for the Vols. Stay tuned. 2 minutes off Thug Sports.
And Craving Wings South North Shore location, where we've heard people say that you can get the best wings in East Tennessee. Pero ¿quién es este? El número 87, Jacob Warren.
I'll just do 6 of my sauce 87, please.
Imposible, señorita. Dale 6 más. Look at these wings. Perfectas, deliciosas, fantásticas.
Man, I don't know what you're saying, but it sounds awesome. How do you say fresh, never frozen in Spanish?
Frescas, nunca congeladas. Make your way to Craving Wings and get you 6 más.
But what was funny about Cadis, we were a full continuum of care at that time. We had detox, we had inpatient, we had outpatient. So we were doing a lot of the things that we do now. But now we just do them so much better. It's really a simple program, but we're complicated people. I am what I am, and now I got to do something about it.
You can take your life back. Call Cadis today.
Got cataracts? We can fix that. Never miss another moment. With a little help from Doctors Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn at cctis.com.
Do you want to own the more that owns every job? Then get to Vassey Lawn and Garden in Cleveland and get you a Toro. I'm David Vassey, here to talk to you about Toro. With a Toro Zero Turn, you'll get more out of every minute and you'll reach the finish line faster. At Vassey's, we like to say, no matter if you're mowing 3 acres a week or 11 lawns a day, homeowners and business owners alike find confidence in equipment they can trust from top to bottom.
Vassey Lawn and Garden, Highway 60 North in Cleveland.
Man alive, it's worth the drive.
Our family has been creating jewelry since 1986, each piece unique with a story all its own. I'm Rick Terry with Rick Terry Jewelry Designs. I'm a jeweler, and I want to be your jeweler. We're grateful that you chose us to be Knoxville's best jeweler. My family and staff look forward to serving you. So please come see us. Kingston Pike and Campbell Station Road in the heart of Farragut, and downtown on Gay Street, right next to the Tennessee Theater.
Who's this guy?
Hello, who is it?
The Dave Hooker Show.
Who?
A presentation of Off the Hook Sports.
What?
YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the free Off the Hook Sports app. Back to Dave Hooker.
Who has smashed the like button? I hope it's you. Have you subscribed? We're at a bit of a milestone coming up. A couple of thousand subscribers in less than a year. We're excited. So if you haven't subscribed, please do that. But also, click that thumbs up button. The like button helps us bring more people into the conversation. So I teased just a moment ago the fact that one of Tennessee's chief recruiters is getting in his own way. One of Tennessee's most important areas in recruiting may open up slightly because this coach is on the downhill slide. There is no question in my mind. Why would I say that? What the H?
What the? What was he thinking?
Release the hounds.
The Dave Hooker Show.
Keep cool.
A presentation of offthehooksports.com.
All right, so here we go. Dabo Swinney is no longer a player's coach. I believe that firmly. I don't think he was for NIL. I think he played up the part of Pastor Dabo, kind of like Hugh Freeze, although I think he was way more authentic than Hugh Freeze. But now Dabo is going to have to cut some walk-on players that received a scholarship because he's over the scholarship limit. We also had Brent Venables, who left. I think was an incredible defensive coordinator, but not a good head coach. So let's go ahead and jump on that right now. Dabo Swinney, your thoughts on what he has said publicly, what has been reported, the fact that he might have to pull some scholarships from former walk-on players who earned those scholarships. How big of a deal is this in recruiting for Clemson, for Tennessee, Caleb?
This is huge. So to quote what he said was, so Clemson has 88 scholarship players due to an influx of seniors that are coming back for their final year. They didn't expect this many. Dabo came out and said, we didn't anticipate 7 seniors coming back. We do a good job in managing our roster, but that put us over. They all know, we tell them up front, we can't guarantee you this next year, but hopefully we will be able to keep you. It is what it is. That is the life of a walk-on. No, it's not. If you're a walk-on and you get a scholarship, that's not your life. You're a scholarship player at that point. And this is...
I've never heard of a walk-on having a scholarship pulled once he got it.
I haven't either. Ever.
25 years of covering college football, I haven't heard of that.
And I know these are walk-ons and that's different from players on the recruiting trail, but this stuff travels. This stuff travels, what comes across as a coach who doesn't keep his word. He's already, as you talked about with the NIL money, has come out so heavily against it. This is a problem. You said it. Dabo is not the player's coach he was 7-8 years ago. I mean, I remember 2018, Kelly Bryant, I think, started the first game, and then Trevor Lawrence came in. Dabo went to Kelly Bryant and said, look, I'm starting Trevor Lawrence. He's the better quarterback. I will help you to get to transfer to wherever you want to go in the school that's best for you, which Nick Saban would never do. And that really helped Dabo's credibility. He would do things like that all the time, and players respected him. The media respected him. He might even wade, not like Mike Leach level, but he would wade into the political waters a little bit, but he would do it in a very respectful way where even if his players would by and large disagree with him, they still respected him because he would actually have a conversation and not cast aspersions on anybody. This is bad what he's doing right here. And he's already hanging by a thread, as you talked about, with the coordinators losing, or with the coordinators gone. Tennessee emerging. There's not room for Clemson and Tennessee to both be powerhouses. I've said that for a while. And we talked about the Orange Bowl being somewhat of a changing of the guard. And I feel like Dabo Swinney is he's adding more nails to his coffin when he does this.
Yeah, I think it's outside of his choice. Okay, I think when you build a program up, and Brent Venables, like at Tennessee, had David Cutcliffe, they go on to become head coaches. I think you erode a lot of that. I think that his lack of willingness to accept NIL was just dumb. I understand you may have a philosophical issue with it, and perhaps I do. Perhaps Caleb does. I don't, but if I did, obviously with Cooper Mays and Jacob Warren who work with us, I wouldn't tell you about it. So he could have kept that quiet. The bottom line is, Clemson fan, and when we talk objectively about all programs, Clemson's on the way down. It simply is. There's no arguing that. They won 2 championships. They had a special defensive coordinator who's not going to be a good head coach, but really shored that end of it up. And that's what Tennessee had with John Chavis. Maybe not as special as Venables, Caleb, but similar in that when they had talent, they would put pressure on you and they would get things done. But Chavis couldn't get that head coaching job for years. So Phillip Fulmer was able to take advantage of that being taken off his plate and be a great recruiter and help put together the offense. So Clemson fan, I'm sorry, you're not going to win another championship. When you have to face the toughest teams in the SEC right now come college football playoff time, whether it's 4 or 12, I don't see you stacking up. Listen, you had everything on the line against South Carolina, and so did Tennessee, but Tennessee is a younger program under Heupel than Swinney. You had everything on the line, and you didn't get it done. That's the simple fact. Clemson is on the way down. Can they change it? Lincoln Riley's brother comes in to try to run a different offense. Maybe they can change it, Caleb, but if I were asked to bet a mortgage payment, I would say that's not going to change. And Dabo Swinney, like Fulmer, would just kind of muddle along for 6, 7, 8 years, be slightly competitive, and then at some point the fans will outcry too loudly and you'll have a change. That's the way this is going to shake out, Clemson fans. Sorry.
Yeah, and let's also break this down. Clemson's got 2 national titles. They weren't the best team in the country really either of those years. Maybe the Trevor Lawrence year, they could make a case. But what really happened was
they should have been better the next year.
They should have. You're right. What really happened is they won they coasted through the ACC without getting banged up at all because they're playing an ACC schedule. Then they get to the college football playoff fully healthy, and they usually got an easy game in the semifinals before they played Alabama in the national title. Alabama got banged up going through SEC play, and that's how Clemson won. Okay, when the college football playoff expands to 12 teams, which it's about to do, Clemson will still roll through the ACC fine. Well, now you got to win 3 games in the college football playoff. You're a lot more banged up by the time you get to the national title game than you are in a 14 playoff. I don't think Clemson will have enough to. I mean, we talk about this all the time because I remember when Boise State would upset a Power 5 team, everybody would be like, see, they belong. It's like, okay, you can do that one game, but can you do that week in and week out? And they never had the depth to do that. Clemson does not have the depth to win a national title in a 12-team playoff. They just don't. And that's going to expose itself too.
Here's the other thing. South Carolina's recruiting really well. I mean, South Carolina picked up 3 commitments this week and 4 over the past week or so, 10 days. And if they have to face off against South Carolina, let's not forget this. I know I'm showing my age here. South Carolina is still the state school. I mean, so, you're going to have, and it doesn't seem the case based off what's happened over the past 20 years, but there's a lot of allegiance to South Carolina over Clemson. So what can Clemson get done? Sure, they can win the ACC. Sure, they can go back to the Orange Bowl because their schedule is so easy, but competing for a championship's not going to happen. And Travis says for about 10 years, Dabo was getting the players Tennessee was supposed to get. That little stint is over, and it's back to being mediocre. Right now, would a T. Higgins or Amari Rodgers go to Clemson over Tennessee?
No.
No. There's no way.
And let's not forget, it started not with a Tennessee player, but a Tennessee commitment. The whole Clemson brand was built because Lane Kiffin forced Taj Boyd out of his scholarship.
It's very true.
If that doesn't happen, Dabo Swinney doesn't make it to 2012 as a head coach. I'm just telling you guys that right now. Taj Boyd saved him and built Clemson's profile just enough while Tennessee was falling for him to be able to recruit more elite players, like you said. But you talk about the South Carolina thing. Yeah, it's funny. Dabo Swinney's first 5 years as a full-time head coach, 2009 to 2013, South Carolina beat Clemson every year. That was during the heyday with Steve Spurrier and Jadeveon Clowney. But you're right. South Carolina, there's no reason to think they can't compete other than, I'm sorry, Gamecock fans, I don't want to live in Columbia. You come at me. I don't really care. It's not a fun place to be.
Kudos to Dabo Swinney for getting the most out of that program and the most out of his coaching ability. Yes. I don't say that that sounds like a backhanded compliment, and maybe it is. But if you would have told me that he's going to win 2 championships after taking over for Bowden and he was kind of a default hire, I would have said you're insane. He did that. Did he get lucky? Yeah, a little bit. You could argue Tennessee got fortunate in 1998. It's done. It's over. And Clemson fans don't want to hear that, but it's a fact. I can tell you what will help them get through it. Go to crafttreats.com. Crafttreats.com will offer you the chill pills that'll help with your Clemson football anxiety. They're actually meant for your pet, but go for it. They have the CBD infused chill pills, and they're awesome. Helps with anxiety, arthritis. Also will help with your pet's digestive issues. It's just awesome. And if you don't go with the chill pills, you can always go with many of their other products, great holistic pet treats that are going to absolutely make your pet feel better, and they will be happy to eat them. Use the promo code off the hook at crafttreats.com, and you will get 20% off. How incredibly awesome is that? I think pretty awesome. All right, so I want to get to another topic that, excuse me, I just wrote about on offthehooksports.com. So I'm going to change gears a little bit. So Clemson, you're off the hook. I didn't mean for it to sound like that, but anyway, you're off the hook. Nick Saban said recently that he thought playing LSU, Auburn, and Tennessee was a bit much. Josh Heupel retorted when asked about the Tennessee-Alabama rivalry. He said that's something that's very important to our fans, and we want to keep that. At this point, as of April 2023, who cares more about their program, Nick Saban or Josh Heupel?
Wow.
While you're thinking, let me lay out some of the parameters. Alabama's done a lot for Nick Saban. Nick Saban's done a lot for Alabama. Josh Heupel, I think, is a long-term coach. But do we ever really know? No. Florida didn't think Steve Spurrier was going to step away in 2001. So with those parameters, what would you argue? Who cares more? Not about what they do in 2023, 2024, 2025, but the long-term health of the program. Smoky Mountain Red already saying Saban is very comfortable and nearing retirement. So, Caleb, what say you? Because Saban has been an orchestrated guy. I think he was orchestrated in what he said about the permanent opponents. I don't think Josh Heupel is necessarily orchestrated. I think he wants to play Alabama. I think it's a recruiting sales pitch, and he knows that Nick Saban's close to retirement. Who cares more about the long-term health of their program?
I think I would have to say at this point, based on the evidence, it's right now Nick Saban. And I say that in this way. Nick Saban's a little more focused on recruiting than Josh Heupel is. Josh Heupel is more of a schematics coach, which is fine. That's fine. But when a schematic coach leaves, you don't leave the cupboard as stocked as you do if you're a recruiting coach like Saban. The other point is, it's really hard to argue against Nick Saban's. This guy's got 6 national titles at Alabama, and he's still coaching like he's hungry for his first. I mean, I want to know and I respect it. What is in somebody that makes them so successful? And Saban talks about this all the time. The human nature is to survive, not thrive, which is whenever we reach a goal of something, it's natural for us to rest on that goal in our laurels. And he's got this thing in his head where he's never satisfied. And I mean, he's like, the only thing better than 6 national championships is 7. The only thing better than 7 is 8. And I wonder what is in a person or a coach that makes them that way. And I can't, and maybe it is about him personally, but Alabama's certainly benefiting from it. Like, the phrase, we're going to win so much, you're going to get sick of winning. It's like Saban doesn't get sick of winning.
Well, I think it's Josh Heupel cares more about the long-term success of the program. I think Nick Saban, as he proved by coaching at LSU and then one of LSU's fiercest rivals, Alabama, that he is what most coaches are, and that's a mercenary, right? I could be proven wrong tomorrow. Josh Heupel could bolt like Lane Kiffin, but he's fooled me. And I wouldn't have said the same about Butch Jones. I think Butch Jones, had he been successful at Tennessee, would have looked for another job. I think that Jeremy Pruitt, it's hard to say. I think Derek Dooley would have, with those guys, there was just no upside. So I don't think that they would have looked for another job, but I think Butch Jones would have. I think all those guys would have. I don't think there was any tie to Tennessee. For instance, if Georgia came open, Derek Dooley's would have gone to Georgia had he had success at Tennessee because his dad coached there. You could say the same thing for Clemson, where he was a wide receiver. So you could say that Virginia, excuse me. You could say that Nick Saban now maybe has some loyalty to Alabama because of the ties over time. Listen, these guys, they show up and it's a job for the most part. I really believe, and I could be proven wrong, and I sound like the ultimate homer here. I believe Josh Heupel is the exception to the rule. I think he loves Tennessee. I think he wants to be at Tennessee. Travis asking about Oklahoma. I don't think he goes there unless there's a massive administrative change, and we've discussed that before because he was run off from there.
But that's the point. Heupel, it would take an administrative change. There's nothing that would get Saban to leave Alabama at this point.
But he almost left for Texas just about 10 years ago.
I think he flirted with it. I think he flirted with it for a contract. I don't think he was ever serious. I think he was
flirting with it is enough for me to hold that against you. Same thing with Rick Barnes and UCLA, to be honest with you.
Well, Rick Barnes admitted he'd have taken the UCLA job if it wasn't for the money Tennessee offered. I mean, he straight up said it. I don't think Saban had any intention of going to Texas. I think that was a Mike Gundy move. You know how Mike Gundy always flirts with Tennessee when an opening comes, and he does it to negotiate a contract raise at Oklahoma State.
It's like there's a bat phone from Tennessee's athletic director office to Mike Gundy's office.
There is.
Oh, it's Mike. Hey, Mike, how's it going?
And then he might do it. He'll be a man, and it'll be, I'm a man, I'm 60. And what I'll say with LSU, though, we know this. You know this. I know this largely from you, but other sources I've read too. Saban did not like Louisiana. He hated Louisiana. He hated being there. So if he were still at Louisiana, I would say Heupel's more loyal to Tennessee. I think he genuinely likes Alabama. And so that's where I would say kind of the difference is.
See, I don't think Nick Saban cares what happens to Alabama the year after he retires. I think Josh Heupel cares what happens to Tennessee in the next 5 to 10 years because he plans on being the coach at Tennessee.
What if a Saban protege takes over Alabama? You don't think he's happy when his proteges are successful because that's another feather in his legacy?
Caleb, his proteges are like Jeremy Pruitt.
Also, Kirby Smart.
Well, Kirby. But
Jimbo Fisher has a national title.
I give you Jimbo Fisher. I like Mel Tucker too. But I don't.
His coaching trees, all successful coaching trees have failures. I mean, Bear Bryant had a lot of failures from his coaching tree.
I think this. I think if Texas called tomorrow and said, Steve showed up with a couple of pops in him this morning at practice, and we need you, Nick Saban, we're going to pay you $20 million a year, I think he'd entertain it.
Okay, you don't think Heupel would entertain $20 million? Who wouldn't entertain $20 million a year?
There's part of me that I don't think he would. And maybe I know it sounds homerish. I know it sounds naive and stupid, but there's part of me that he realizes he got kicked to the curb in Oklahoma. He had to go the UCF route. He had to work his way up. I think he is more appreciative for his success now. And no, I don't think he would bolt as quickly as Saban. I really don't.
This? What about, instead of loyalty to the programs, loyalty to the athletic director? Do you think with Josh Heupel, it's about loyalty to Danny White? Because Danny White gave him his first head coaching job at UCF. And by the way, I don't know if you remember, that was a very highly criticized head coaching hire when Danny White did that. And then Danny White brought him with him to Tennessee. Again, a criticized coaching hire. Do you think it's possible Heupel's loyal to Danny White?
Loyal to Danny White, but I think Danny White wants to be the next commissioner of the SEC.
I mean, gosh, he would be brilliant. I know you and I disagree. I think Greg Sankey's riding a wave. I think anybody could be a commissioner of that product at this point.
Yeah, I don't know yet. Well, he did. He added Texas and Oklahoma, so you have to get that. That's his leg.
No, Texas and Oklahoma reached out to him. Who's going to say no to that move? That wasn't a genius stroke.
Yeah,
a stroke of genius.
No, man. I don't know. That's risky bringing those teams in.
No, it's not. It's not risky to bring in Texas and Oklahoma.
Well, that is going to be his legacy, is expansion. Okay, so Slav's legacy was cleaning up the conference. Kramer's legacy was the BCS. So that's a pretty good legacy to bring in Texas and Oklahoma, whether or not they called or not.
Yeah, okay, but I say this about Roger Goodell all the time. Because people are like, look at how much the NFL's exploded in popularity under Roger Goodell. No, Roger Goodell just oversaw that. But you and I could have overseen the NFL exploding in popularity. It's like being an oil executive. When you can sell oil, you're going to get rich because that's an easy product, unless you're Jimmy Haslam, who manages to bankrupt it. But unless you're Jimmy Haslam, if you have oil, you make money. And so it's the same with like being the commissioner of the SEC or the commissioner of the NFL. I told you, it's a massive indictment against Greg Sankey that the Big Ten got a TV contract worth more than twice as much as the SEC, when the SEC brand is so much better than the Big Ten's.
Vassy Lawn and Garden, man alive, it's worth the drive in Cleveland. Whether you're in Knoxville, Nashville, or Chattanooga, they have the industrial and commercial mowers to fortify your fleet or build a brand new one. They've got commercial mowers as well. Toro, count on it. Vassy Lawn and Garden, man alive, it's worth the drive. Austin says Hype fell in love with the University of Tennessee. It started with the Ole Miss game. You could tell it in his voice in the post game. That was when I knew we had him. Austin, I am the guy that will tell you that every coach is a mercenary and would leave in a heartbeat, but I agree with you. Could I be naive? Could he leave tomorrow? Yes. Could I be foolish? Or some people going to say that I'm a homer? Yes. But I don't get a check from the University of Tennessee. I'm telling you what I honestly think. And I think he honestly wants to be at Tennessee until his mid-50s or beyond. And he's 47-ish.
Let me contradict Austin just a little bit. And you're right. Heupel backing the fans after that whole throwing stuff on the field incident resonated well with Tennessee fans. But I can tell you this. Had Lane Kiffin been coaching at Tennessee and he's the ultimate mercenary, he also would have backed the fans even more vociferously. Lane Kiffin would have told them to bring more golf balls in the next week.
That's true. But are you questioning whether or not Heupel, though, is genuine?
I think Heupel is genuine. I'm just saying I even think Heupel to a degree. Look, I think if Oklahoma cleaned house with its staff and cut ties with Bob Stoops, Heupel would consider going back to Oklahoma. I think Heupel takes it personally, what happened with Oklahoma. And I think, and we all know, look, he was set up to fail. He had an offense forced on him that he didn't want to run, and he still managed to average 40 points a game, and he still got fired at the end. It was embarrassing what Bob Stoops did. And I think that relationship is irreparable because of that.
I think it's irreparable. But you're saying that he would at least take the phone call. If Stoops was gone and Oklahoma needed a coach, and they're going to, with Brent Venables being a complete goofball as a head coach, you're telling me that he would take the phone call?
I think if Stoops is there, he might take the phone call and he'd say, hey, you want me? Cut ties with Stoops. Get rid of everything that ever had to do with Bob Stoops, and then I'll come.
Ouch.
Yes.
I hope he's not that vindictive, because being vindictive like that can cause you to make bad life decisions.
Being vindictive like that is why Josh Heupel ran up the score of Missouri last year.
That's different than moving your whole family out west and going to another school. I mean, that's a little different.
I mean, look at Michael Jordan. He took everything personally. Now it worked against him because I don't know how you feel. I think Michael Jordan retired early out of loyalty to Phil and vindictiveness to Jerry Krause, and I think he actually regrets that to the end of his. He's going to regret that to the end of his life, retiring early. 98.
Mr. Jones says Heupel exudes genuine. You can tell he cares about what he is doing. And Hype would never stoop. I see what you did there, Mr. Jones. Hype would never stoop that low.
You guys are so like, oh my God, my coach is of great character and nobody else is.
Well, you know, I'm not like that. And I
know you're not.
Because every time that Caleb goes into the British accent, that means that we're going to be condescending to our listeners and watchers. He loves you.
I have the most amazing coach. The character of the coach is so important, and the integrity.
Well, then I will tell you that things that Josh Heupel has done that I don't necessarily agree with, like running off players nowadays. I think he's done that with some of the quarterbacks. But no, I think if God stepped down right now and said, I can guarantee you that you'll have a successful career, but you have to sign a lifetime contract with the University of Tennessee, I think he would do it.
Possibly.
I think he's happy where he is. I think it was a destination job from day one, and it always bugged the ever-living heck out of me that people said it wasn't a destination job, that it was a stepping stone job. Sorry, that's South Carolina. That's Mississippi State. That ain't Tennessee.
Wait. I gotta respond to Travis because he said he's coming at me because he says they all can't be Brian Kelly. Okay.
Nice.
Character-wise, Brian Kelly's a bigger snake. Brian Kelly is a snake. Okay, like character-wise, I have nothing positive to say. Dude put on a fake Louisiana accent his first day in LSU.
Well, and he danced with that prospect, and he
It was embarrassing.
That, and he may have been a part of killing a young man. But other than that,
Wait, what? I didn't even know that story.
Oh yeah, he was filming practice and high winds.
Oh yeah, that's right. The Notre Dame. Yes, that's right. I'm not here to defend Brian Kelly.
His family hasn't forgotten that.
I'm not here to defend Brian Kelly's character. I'm just saying Brian Kelly is a good X's and O's coach, and an X's and O's coach at LSU is a dangerous combination because LSU they have not been run by the best and the brightest of the last 30 years.
Rebecca's saying, I don't believe he wouldn't even think about going back to Oklahoma. You can totally tell his passion in interviews. He's the real deal. I agree. And listen, I know that these guys are mostly mercenaries, but I believe what Rebecca's saying. I believe Josh Heupel, and we'll leave it with this. Rebecca also said, Caleb, you're killing me. This has been a production of Off the Hook Sports. Have a fantastic day, weekend, whenever you're watching, and we're with you each and every weekday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the thumbs up button. We appreciate that. Helps us out a lot. And more on the Celebrate 98 series that we're very excited about. So we've got a lot going on. offthehooksports.com. We've got apps so you can listen to all that. You can follow what Caleb cuts up via the apps on Apple. And what's the other thing called? The Android. The Android. Doesn't it seem like somebody could have come up with something better than Android?
I mean, look, they ran BlackBerry out of business, so...
Fair. There's a BlackBerry movie coming out, by the way. He's Caleb Calhoun. I'm Dave Hooker. Have a fantastic whenever you're watching. And this